Welcome to another edition of Manifest 360. You know, you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe you deserve. Welcome to the show, the podcast where we stop pretending manifestation is just vision boards and good vibes and start looking at the full 360 view, the mindset, the patterns, the identity, and the uncomfortable stuff that goes with what people skip. Today we're diving into worthiness, and, you know, people our age tend to think of the old show, I'm not worthy. What was that? What was that? Wayne's World. You know, I'm not worthy, but you know, you are worthy. We are all worthy, Vipin.
We're all worthy,
and I think we're all worthy of everything. I think, you know, back when that movie came out, back when Wayne's World came out, you know, everybody's like, oh, I'm not worthy, but we all are. If you think about it, and you think about all the things that you've done in your life, you're definitely worthy of good. And I think that a lot of us, unfortunately, think that, well, I'm not worthy of that. I don't deserve that. But people do deserve the stuff that they get, I think.
Yeah, it's funny you said people do deserve the stuff that they get. The last sentence, I'm going to kind of break it down a little bit. People get what they deserve is kind of another way of saying that same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's a lot of talk about this stuff in the New Age channels. The universe doesn't care what you want, you get what you deserve, or other things like, you know, you got to be in tap with the universe, and you got to be in the same vibrational energy level, match the energy, as we've talked about that Einstein quote, to get what you want. I think that is true. I really do. And I think it's how do we become worthy of what we want? That's really the challenge, right? We all can be worthy. We don't get there. We don't feel worthy to be a billionaire. I certainly don't. Now, I might get there if I have a bunch of smaller wins or bigger wins, and that may escalate me there. But you don't start out saying I'm worthy to be a billionaire today. But you can start out by saying I'm worthy of having a good career, a good way of making a living, a good relationship, good physical health. And so you are worthy of these great things. But how much you are worth is based on multitude of factors. You can't imagine it. And I have a little story that I want to talk about because this guy, famous actor, I heard him on a reel this week, and I loved his talk. Jim Carrey. You know, we all know Jim Carrey. He's an incredible actor and comedian, and he mentioned in his thing today, I'm an incredible, out of this world manifester. He can manifest anything, he said. And he wrote himself a $10 million check before he became famous. Yep. And he kept it in his wallet. And sure enough, there was a day when one of the movies that he made gave him a $10 million up front. And so, that is something that you can do. You can manifest to that level. But there's a whole lot of work in between wanting something and being worthy of something. And that's what I want to dissect today.
But do you in your heart of hearts believe that some people aren't worthy of things? I mean, I really believe that most people are worthy of good. Most of us have some bad quality. Well, all of us have bad qualities, but when you break it down, we all are worthy of goodness, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So we're all worthy of everything that we want. It may not happen today, but you're worthy of good. Yeah, you're worthy of goodness.
It mostly doesn't happen today.
It doesn't happen today. It never happens today. The thing that's interesting is there's a lot of jerks out there.
Every day we
what I would consider borderline folks who are on the negative spectrum of life. Let's not talk about them. Let's talk about goodness. Goodness begets goodness. You get in life what you put out. So if you put out the vibe that you're not worthy, that you're walking around feeling sorry for yourself, self-pity, self-defamation, things like that, you're going to get that in return from the universe. There's a story about a guy that I read years ago, and I don't know exactly how it went, but he was having all sorts of trouble at work. Everybody was making fun of him. He was of a particular gender, and he had a particular sexual orientation that people at his workplace didn't respect, but he was putting out negative energy as well, and he would walk around and everybody would make fun of him. And then he went through this leadership/training self-empowerment program and realized how he held himself and his beliefs had a lot to do with it. He slowly started changing and treating himself with respect, and the universe/his workplace reflected that. People stopped making fun of him. People started respecting him because he respected himself. So he became worthy of the person that he wanted to be, and he ended up having a great work environment and work stress, which he didn't have previously. So you do put whatever energy you put on the universe, whatever worth you put out, you're going to get that back.
Oh, I agree. And I think once you let go of a lot of those things, a lot of the things that hold you back, I believe that you end up being a better person. Because you know that I worked in radio for a lot of years, and there's people that like some radio people and don't like other radio people. Then I moved on to the career of being a bartender, and there are people that like some bartenders and don't like some bartenders. Just like you being in the tech world, there are people that like you and don't like you. When you focus on the people that don't like you, you end up, at least for me, I end up being a more negative person. But when I start realizing that who really gives a darn what any of these people say or think, as soon as I started letting that stuff go, I feel like my life has gotten to be a lot better because I wasn't worrying about that stuff. So, I mean, I started to feel like I was worthy of the goodness that happened to me and the things that were happening to me, rather than the negative and the stuff that people were trying to put on me by being that, you know, that negative person or being that person that's wishing me bad. But as soon as I started looking at things a different way, life started getting a lot better, at least for me.
Yeah. And I like to believe that I'm very competent. Communicator. I like to believe that I'm a very competent leader. I've been told by my team and people that have worked for me that I'm one of the best managers. I'm the best manager that they've ever had. Multiple people have told me through that. I've empowered people to be their best. And the reason I do that is because I challenge them and I show kindness and love to them. And I put this on LinkedIn today. Don't ever be ashamed of the kindness that you show to people. As a leader, always show kindness, even in tough love situations where you need to correct somebody's behavior or you need to be able to challenge them to do the best that they can. You know, guide them to it if they need the help. Be there for them. But kindness and actually, this reminds me of a woman that I met years ago, and this is my second or third company that I had started, and I was about to lay off a bunch of people, and there was a woman at the gym. And you and I both grew up in Minnesota. I don't know if I've told you this story about Betty. I might have. I used to work out at the gym early in the morning. I did today as well. And there was this woman with gray hair always working out in the morning. And one day I told her as we were both leaving the gym, yeah, I'm going to Minnesota today. She's like, I go there a lot too. And I think she said she was going to go there next week. And I said, oh, what are you going there for? She had a southern accent. She's like, oh, I'm on the board of Bechtel. And I took like a shock back, like, what? Bechtel is this gigantic medical company, multi-billion-dollar company. I think it's based out of Minnesota. And she's like, yeah, I'm on the board of Bechtel. And I'm like, wow. Anyway, she's like, what? A little old lady like me can't be on the board of Bechtel? I later on found out that Betty was the CEO of Primera Blue Cross, retired CEO. Of Primera Blue Cross here in Seattle, a multi-billion-dollar insurance company. And her husband was also the previous CEO. And I also met him as well, and they had come to her house for dinner and all that good stuff. But when I was laying off all these people, and she said, you know, you got to do some tough love here. You got to cut expenses down. You got to manage this business to a level, but do it with kindness and compassion. Be honest with your people. Tell them what you're going through. Tell them the situation is not where you wanted it to be, and do it with a soulful mindset and soulful compassion. And that's what I ended up doing. And one of the women that I laid off, I basically told her, you know, you're not living your full potential here anyways. We hired you to do a good job, but you're not inspired when you come in every day. And that woman ended up doing great things. She went off into the arts, and she really appreciated what I said to her. And I'm still friends with her on Facebook. She's got kids now, similar age as my kids, and she ended up marrying her boyfriend at the time, who's a rock star tech guy and a CEO of multiple companies and things like that. But yeah, so you do things with kindness, and it comes back to you years later. And so the relationship that I have with her is a foundation of, you know, what I did back in 2002, I think it was. 2002, I think, is when I had to lay off a bunch of people.
You know, a lot of times when you're not inspired, I think that you'd end up dragging the company down anyway. You said that, you know, that she wasn't feeling the inspiration when she was going into work. And I've been in that situation myself where I haven't felt inspired when I was working. And honestly, it's not only a detriment to the company, it's a detriment to you, and it starts to bring you down and pull you down with it, you know. And at that point, you start to feel like you're not really worthy of doing what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. I was stuck in a funk. I want to say I was stuck in a funk between 2016 and 2019, and I was stuck in a funk. I had a lot of anxiety. I was not in a place where I wanted to be. I was starting to live for the weekends. Every Thursday night, Friday night, I would go to the local pub, and drink my sorrows away. Every Monday, I would struggle to get in the office. And I was not living the life that I wanted to live. And it took me through COVID, hitting rock bottom, and coming out of it in 2021, inspired. I started going back to the gym every morning, and that started to change everything for me. And I started to be in a spiritual place. I took a leadership program that I joined in 2021. I ended up becoming a director of a company, e-commerce, multi-billion-dollar company. And I ended up living the life that I wanted to live in 2021. And here we are, 2026. The growth in my personal development of worthiness is at as high as it's ever been. I feel like I'm kicking in all cylinders. I was also on a workshop by the Hay House. It's a publishing company, kind of new agey book publisher called the Hay House. And this woman, I believe, I listened to her talk. She wrote a book called I'm Worthy, or something about being worthy. And a lot of people in the room, there were probably a couple hundred people in the room, in the Zoom room. This is back in like 23 or 24. And she basically talked us all through, and it was a huge deal for her, how she overcame the worthiness. And I think she was running a couple $100 million company, and it was a best-selling author, or not a best-selling author, but a pretty good popular author. So, being worthy requires you to have a mindset of coming from self-worth. The self-worth is a very, very tricky situation. It gets deep into self-esteem, self-love. It's a deep little thing for a lot of people, and unless you get that thing looked at, it's like surgery, man. It's bloody in there, that brain of ours, and that heart of ours, and that brain-heart coherence. And so these are deep issues, and this is a deep conversation that we're having today. How to become worthy requires self-worth, self-love, self-acceptance, self-esteem.
So, Vipin, what does worthiness mean to you?
It's pretty clear for me. Worthiness means to me that I deserve the best life that I want in almost all areas. And so a couple of weeks ago, we talked about body, mind, and soul. Soul/spirit, right?
Yep.
We talked about calm, centered, and loving, and how each word kind of hits that phrase piece. So being worthy to me means I am worthy of good physical being. I don't eat the best, but I eat good enough. But I haven't had ice cream for a while, which is good for me. I work out every day. I walk the dog every day, so I get about an hour and a half to 2 hours of exercise every day. I stretch every day now, which is great, so my health is much better. I remember between December 27th and even till early April, I had back issues. I was in Chicago. I was back-ridden. I had all this stress, headaches, sinus infections. And so my health is now much better. So that is, I'm worthy of good health. Second, I'm worthy of intellectual/emotional experiences that may come into personal relationships and professional relationships. The personal relationships you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago. And what we know is that you are at a certain vibration level.
Let me interject there for a second. So what do you mean by vibration level?
Vibration comes from, sound and electricity and energy. So if you are at an energy level, consciousness level is what they call it sometimes, and if you're kicking at a high power of intellectual competence, let's just call it that, or emotional competence, you are kicking at a pretty high level. You lead with love, you lead with compassion, you lead with intellectual savviness, you listen really well, you communicate really well, you manage your emotions really well. All of those things. It doesn't mean you're perfect all the time, That's why you need mantras and things that we talk about to get yourself centered. But by and large, majority of the time is spent in a high vibrational level, meaning at a high competency level of emotional management, intellectual management, things like that. Does that help?
Okay. Yep, it does.
Yep. And then the third thing is the spiritual worthiness of spiritual needs. May that be what your soul yearns for, is kind of your purpose that you're giving away to people in the world, things that you want to give away, your passion. My passion is to help people become the best that they can be, especially around finances and business, because that's where I've spent a lot of my time, on the business side of things and in manifestation. So I talk about manifestation from a financial standpoint, because I feel like I came from nothing and I was able to accomplish certain things. But it's not about me as much as it is about other people as well who accomplished great things. And it's a universal law that applies to all of us about we get to manifest things that we're worthy of financially if we feel energetically in alignment with what we want. So as I mentioned before in the book that I have, Money and Mantras, it's aligning your energies to live a life of purpose and prosperity, right? So from that book came the website Manifest360.app. What we're trying to do is help people align their energies through mantras. And the best way we can tell people do that is through their body, the calmness, their mind, centeredness, their spirit, loving energy. If you put loving energy out there in the universe, you're going to get loving energy out, loving energy back. And love can come in the form of respect, financial abundance. It can come in the form of incredible relationships. It can come in the form of purpose and passion and kindness from other people. May not come from the same source that you give it to, but you will feel more love as you give more love.
But we have talked about that stuff in the past. Don't you agree?
It's all interrelated, right? Everything is interrelated. Everything is in concert. Everything is in the universe is interrelated. Nothing stands by itself. As we're talking, in the background is a tennis tournament going on in Stuttgart. And Stuttgart is known for Porsche. Porsche is the company that's found there. And I happen to be a huge Porsche fan for a multitude of reasons, not just because they're a great sports car, but also because they're a cash-only company. They mainly work in a cash. They don't believe in debt. They believe in taking care of their people. And so anyway, there's a whole set of culture that's set up around a company. And so a company builds a product or a service that you like based on the energy that they put out there. And so for me, wanting something, I told you I wanted a Porsche for a long time, and my brother had a Porsche 20 years ago. I ended up changing a tire in a Porsche once, but I never owned one. And a couple of years ago, as you know, I went out and bought a Porsche Cayenne, mainly because I love the cayenne pepper, and I've always wanted that Porsche car. And so anyway, it's to talk about it in such a way that you can manifest things that you desire. I live in an incredible neighborhood in Seattle. I can't wait for you to come and visit. I can show you around. I live in a beautiful city, in a beautiful environment. I went to the Tulip Festival yesterday. Tulip Festival, I had never been. I've been in Seattle for 28 years, and I'd never been to a Tulip Festival. And it's just these amazing fields of tulips everywhere. And it's organized. You got to have an online ticket to get in, and this incredible parking situation, and then there's people in the fields. They've got food courts, and they've got all sorts of amazing things there. There's rows and rows of tulips of different color. It was just like being in flower heaven. Tulips are obviously gorgeous, and imagine every single color you can imagine of a tulip. There were these bonsai type huge trees surrounded by tulips. There were this heart-shaped garden with a tulip and the red and white flowers. So you get to enjoy this beauty of nature yesterday. That was incredible. And so you can learn more about going to tulips.com. I didn't know tulips.com was a thing until yesterday. That's where the Tulip Festival is in the state of Washington. And so...
it's funny because you sent me pictures of that yesterday, and Monique and I were doing Self-Care Saturday, but I showed those pictures to Monique, and her family... She's the first generation American. Her family is from the Netherlands, so I showed her that, and she said that reminds her a lot of the the way things were in Holland, is the Netherlands. So
Yeah.
so to her, it kind of brought her kind of home. You know what I mean? It made her miss her family and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's surprising. It's tulips. I always thought of Netherlands and Holland as well. I didn't think of state of Washington as owning the tulips.com thing. And so, I mean, tulips are tulips, but requires certain kind of climate. It requires a rainy / flat fields and things like that. And so, so I think that the Netherlands climate is similar to the Washington State climate in different parts of Washington State. Obviously, Washington State is very, very diverse. It's got huge mountain ranges, and it's even got a desert kind of a feel to it, wine country, and then it's got these fields near the ocean, similar to kind of Netherlands, these flat areas. This particular area is in Skagit Valley, which is about an hour and a half north of Seattle.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
the beauty
look
of
at-
nature, worthy, enjoying the self-care Saturday. I think that's what we should call it from now on. The self-care Saturday, it should be about taking the Sabbath, as they call it, for yourself. I love it. I love the name Self-Care Saturday. Love it.
You know, it was surprising because when you showed me that, I told you that we were getting pedicures, and it kind of shocked me that you've never had a pedicure.
I have not. And a lot of people have, and I know a lot of guys around the neighborhood, friends of mine, that have done it, but I haven't done it yet. I know that people talk about it. And
One of my favorite things.
Yeah, that's what you were saying before. But back to worthiness. You know, worthiness of nature, of enjoying the beauty. But how do you become worthy? How do you become worthy of what you want? So that's the ultimate question that we want to leave people with, right? So you
Right.
become worthy by believing in yourself and having self-respect, self-worth. And how do you get self-respect? You do things to take care of yourself, like a self-care Saturday.
Here's something to think about too with it too, is that worthiness isn't something that you can earn. It's something that you uncover, that you realize that you are worthy of something, rather than, you know, earning the worthiness to be something.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's more of a realization, like you said, is being aware of it. And I think that when we don't take care of ourselves physically, intellectually, spiritually, we feel less worthy. We're not connected with the universe. So the way to get higher self-worth is to be connected, that we're all connected to the universe. The universe has a lot to offer. It's not to come from a place of fear, right? It's come from an attitude of gratitude. Talked about this a million times. When you're grateful for something, it's okay to want more, and saying, I'm grateful for all this I have, and I want something more because I deserve better in life. I deserve better, therefore I'm going to go right instead of left. I've talked about a couple of situations that were kind of turmoil for me, professionally and personally. And both of them have turned out really well for me in the last week and a half. And they accelerated in the positive side of things because I believe in a higher power, I believe in the universe, I believe in God, and I believe that every single path that I get, I am acknowledging it relatively quickly and internalizing. It doesn't mean that I don't grieve the work-related stress, or I don't grieve the personal relationship stuff. I grieve and I let it go. I put it to the higher universe and the higher powers, and I say, okay, that's what you want me to do. You want me to go right. Close this door to the left, go to the right. The work thing, the businesses that I have started and I'm starting and kicking butt on, it's all part of a plan that is a universal plan for me in my life. I believe I'm publishing a book by an amazing publisher. It's coming out in 2027. Money and Mantras. Go to Money and Mantras group on Facebook. It's got 1.7 million followers. So it's there's a lot happening in my life, and I want to share that with people who are driven, people who want more, people who are grateful, people who are kind, compassionate. And if you're not kind or compassionate, we can help you get to be kind and compassionate by following the mantra, calm, centered, and loving, right? And then I've got a bunch of mantras and things on the website. I talk a lot about, I mentioned the mantra on deserving for myself. I said, I attract people, places, and opportunities that serve my purpose of helping millions of people and generating X amount of wealth for my family. That's one of the mantras that I do. I've told you about that. Another one I talk about another mantra that I have is, I'm worthy of receiving great wealth and prosperity to the tune of X millions. And so being worthy is a really important word to say. I'm worthy of X. I'm worthy of receiving great wealth and abundance in the tune of blah, blah, blah. I'm worthy of great relationships. I'm worthy of X, Y, Z. I'm worthy of great health. So being worthy is a mindset change, and it's really a realization. But you feel more realized when you take care of yourself. When you're in the negative downturn, you don't feel that abundance because you're more caught in the negative energy of things going wrong in your life.
I want to circle back to something that you had said just a few minutes ago about letting it go. I think that's something that a lot of us don't do. And I think that's something that we need to start doing more of, is letting things go, letting the small stuff go.
Yeah, there's a woman, what's her name? She wrote a book called Let Them, and it's a common principle of letting go. My favorite song of all time is a U2 song called Bad from Unforgettable Fire, and it's all about letting go. And I heard it the other day a couple of times in the last week. I have this huge playlist of like 50 to 60 songs, or not, more like 100 songs on there now. And Bad shows up once in a while, and Bad is not a bad song. It's actually good. It's bad in the sense of good. It's an incredible song. It's my favorite song of all time. It's all about letting go. And how you let go is you got to trust in God. Why would God or your higher power or universe do something to close a door? I believe a door is closed so that a window, you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, a window might open. But you won't look at the window open or the new door open if you still hang on and look for the closed door. Stop the self-pity. Stop the focus on that old door. Look for the new opportunities. Look for new doors, new windows when the door closes. That's how you let go.
You got to expect good for yourself as well. I think that some people maybe not looking into the possibility of having good things happen to them, and when you don't do that, then you're manifesting bad for yourself. Start thinking positive and thinking that you are worthy and that you can achieve and that you should receive this stuff rather than the other way.
Yeah, I think a simple mantra that I can even give to people is, I am worthy of receiving great health, wealth, and relationships. That's it. I'm worthy of receiving great wealth, great health, wealth, and relationships. If you just take a mantra and repeat it over and over again, that's where the power is. Like I said, I have one for the worthy one that I do. I don't do it as much as I used to do it. I do the one, I feel like I'm already pretty worthy. I tend to do the one where I have two that I don't share with a lot of people, but one of them is I attract people, places, and opportunities that serve my purpose, right? That's the big one. Then I have one around the book, and then I have the main one that I always do every morning is I'm calm, centered, and loving. I'm calm, centered, and loving. And I do that in situations throughout the day, but that's the one how I start out my day, after the prayers and when I'm at the gym.
Anything else you want to say?
You are worthy, folks. You are worthy. Now act like it. And then the universe will give you what you want.
And that wraps up this episode of Manifest 360. If today's conversation sparks something in you, don't just think about it, apply it. Alignment isn't a vibe, it's a practice. Belief, emotion, strategy, and action, all moving in the same direction, that's where momentum lives. Be sure to follow, share with someone building something meaningful, and join us next week as we continue helping you manifest wealth and purpose. Manifest 360 is a podcastforhire.com production.